Delighted to welcome Sean Robson to our latest Spotlight interview for Careers in FM. Sean's a strategic leader in the FM space, having held senior roles with both OCS and Mighty, following a transition from the military. So, hi, Sean.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Really excited to hear about your transition into the FM space, actually, and understand the career that you've had since leaving the military.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I'm quite excited to share it with you because there's a lot of people that transition out of the military that don't know their value within this industry, and they are very valuable.
How did you get involved in FM? Did you get any advice around, moving into FM? How did that come about?
So yeah, my brother is quite high up in a strategic role within FM as well, and me and him are very, very close, both ex-military, and we were speaking about it, and his advice, sort of to me was, you have all the operational skills. Why don't you just do it? So, with that sort of very loose advice, I ran with it.
Brilliant. Okay. And in terms of some of the projects and things that you've been involved in since you've come into FM, I mean, it's obviously well known for being a sector that's really diverse and dynamic. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the projects that you've been involved in that maybe bring in that dynamic, nature, and also, I think, a bit about how do you prioritise really when such, challenges occur?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's two projects that I've been involved in that really stick out to me. The first one being the Nightingale up in Manchester. I was asked to go on the Monday, and on the Tuesday morning I was there, mainly just advising on the mobilization from a people perspective. And it was very, very flexible, fluid, diverse. The fact that I turned up and there was an empty building, and within 12 days we had to have a fully functioning hospital up and running. So there was a lot of on the hoof decisions and sort of urgency about how we do things. I found, that a really, really good challenge, and we did learn a lot about how rapid sort of FM can be scaled out, but not only just scaled out, but make it effective. We learned how to manage complexity at scale. So we had to turn this empty building to 750 bed hospital, in a very tight timeline. And, there was a lot of subcontractors there, and we were all working together. And of course, when we were building, COVID-19 was changing, the environment was changing constantly. Yes. So, from one day to the next, we might needed to change a complete entire design of a ward. But it was really, really good to see. And, you know, working very closely with NHS England on that front, I think they learned a lot about how to make decisions at pace, because we know that the NHS are not necessarily the best at doing that. And I learned a lot about the sort of builders aspect and their requirements and their constraints about what I'm asking them to do to make it easier for my guys to maintain.
Yes.
Sometimes just wasn't possible. So yeah, that was quite good. And I suppose when you come up with the challenges, is a process I've always looked at. And the first thing is sort of that assessment and evaluation piece. Okay, what is the scenario we're looking at? What is going wrong, or what needs to change? And then what's the impact on the operations, the safety, the critical systems that might be in play here? And then we conduct a sort of risk analysis to find out, if by doing nothing, what would be the impact, by doing the bare minimum or going above and beyond. We then start to see the priorities sort of fall out naturally. And I think that the criticality of systems in a hospital environment is generally the key one. Making sure the oxygen is getting through to the patients, electricity for the life-saving equipment that the NHS use, all the way through to HVAC, making sure we get the correct air changes within that environment to keep it pathogen-free. I then focus on what resource have I got available? How best can I achieve this?
Yes,
Communication, stakeholder management is key as well. You've got to keep your client in the picture at all times. And then what is the longer term impact? So yes, we've fixed the immediate problem, but could that develop over time? Could it fail again? And how do we mitigate against that? And then the lessons learned at the end of it. How did it all work? What could we have done better? If we could have done anything better, and what could we do differently in the future?
So using, huge amount of different skills there, obviously through, just that one scenario that you've come up with there. How do you feel that the skills that you learned when you were in the military have translated really into the different roles that you've had in FM? You've touched on obviously some of it there.
Absolutely. I think, a lot of soldiers or veterans will say the ability to keep calm under pressure. I think it's the ability to work well under pressure. And veterans have got that. A lot of your career is designed towards training for doing the job that may or may not happen, which inevitably is war. So you constantly train. So you know what pressure is, and you know how it feels, and you know how to get excited by it, which is key. So that ability to react under pressure and work under pressure is key. A methodical approach. If anything, the military teaches you, step one, you start here and you work through the process. A process is only any good if you're following it. If you're not following that process, it isn't a process at all. It's just a written document. So I think they're two key pieces, but the ability to communicate that and to get people to buy into what your vision is are key as well. And soldiers, sailors and airmen are all very good at that. We're all taught how to deliver a plan in a certain way to get buy-in, via the orders process. So this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to achieve it. Should X fail, this is how we deal with that at that point in time. And I think that methodical approach really, really sets us above most people.
Yes. And would you have any advice on things like training and qualifications? Because we get a lot of questions like that, particularly from service leavers or veterans that have come into the industry early, thinking about how they can really develop their career over time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So, I think I read an article from CMI recently where there's this thing called accidental managers, where 88% of managers find themselves in a position of management without any formal qualification.
Yeah.
That formal qualification to me is key. It shows that you're invested in looking after your people and how to manage them. Now, that's different to leadership. Leadership, as we know, is that ability to sell the dream and bring people along on a journey So those two are key and they're hand in hand. So a formal management qualification is definitely advisable. Get some industry knowledge, and that can be gained in, very, very many different ways. And I did it through a level 6 diploma in facilities management, just to translate my military knowledge into a civilian lexicon, civilian way of speaking. And it depends on the company you're aiming for. Most FM companies will ask for an IOSH qualification as a bare minimum. And again, project management is key. So you might want to get an understanding of project management. And again, the company may or may not dictate whether or not they wish you to have a formal qualification in that. But I would say, that management ability, understanding what leadership is and that ability to pull it through. Health and safety is definitely key in project management.
Yeah. Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. And it sounds like you're really passionate about the sector, Sean, which, is brilliant. It comes across. What are the things about it that you think are really, you really love? For somebody moving into the sector that doesn't really know a huge amount about it, what would you say, all the positives are?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. I absolutely love the challenge of managing accounts within this industry. I think for me, because I work so closely with the NHS, it's that ability to facilitate them and enable them to do their job. They are the sort of frontline heroes of the UK, and they face a lot of challenges. And if we can make it easier by making sure that their equipment works, that their wards are correctly sanitized, cleaned, etc. I think that's a huge positive for me. But also the industry is moving now towards the big umbrella of ESG and how we can support not only the clients, etc., but how do we make things better for everybody, the world? So that environmental piece is massive, and we know that we're aiming towards a carbon neutrality, and that target is fast approaching. We're looking at sort of delivering social value into economies, which is absolutely incredible. And I absolutely love that piece. And of course, what comes along with it is all the governance piece, which is all of that processing and making sure that we're doing it correctly. So if we're going to do something, let's do it properly. And let's not only do it properly, but let's get someone in to have a look independent and make sure that we are actually doing it. Because what we don't want to do is have that sort of safety bias that we think we know what we're doing, and we're happy in what we're doing. We want to eliminate that and get somebody in to come and just give us that quick once over and nudge us in the right direction if we need it.
Yeah. So any other advice that you might have for aspiring FM professionals or people that are looking to, get into the field from the military that you haven't covered already?
I would say, like I said at the beginning there, it's easy to find yourself in FM, and it is something that quite a lot of us veterans happen ourselves in. But it's quite hard to be a success in FM. And I think having a positive mindset and a sort of approachable mindset really, really will help you. Keep your mind open, broad knowledge, the sort of really good things that veterans are good for. Listen to everybody's opinions and make a plan on the best opinion and go forward with it. But always have a plan for success, and the plan for success is your strategy, your delivery of that account. We know that the big companies, Mighty, etc., they all work on accounts that are 5, 10, 15 years, so they're classed as projects. What happens at the end of that project? Well, there's a whole rebid. So but you might come in at day one, start looking at your strategy for that win at year 5. How can we retain this and go forward with it?
Okay, well, that has been I've loved listening to you, Sean, and hearing about your own career journey in FM, and some amazing advice there. And I think FM is that place, isn't it, where I don't know if you felt, but it's a huge industry, but also at a small place, and there's always people willing to provide that guidance, mentorship. I don't know if you've found the same there.
Absolutely, yeah. So since I joined IWFM recently as last year, I've opened up a massive door into advice and bits and pieces. My trust that I'm currently working with, they're all involved in IFM, IWFM, should I say, and meeting those guys outside of the work environment and talking strategy. Alistair from IEM has been absolutely fantastic to chat to. Meeting you guys up at the Arboretum was absolutely fantastic. Again, it's all opening doors. I did have, and currently still do have, a couple of mentors within the industry. Carl Roberts, who sort of encouraged me to take the Nightingale on as a lead, was absolutely fantastic. And my current line manager, Caroline, she's absolutely fantastic in guiding me in the right direction. It is that tacit knowledge sharing. You need to be able to do it. And it's not necessarily always in the work environment. Go to an expo, walk around, have a coffee with people, just talk, and the ideas will come flooding in.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Sean. It's been great talking to you. I've really enjoyed that, and thanks for your time.
No worries. Thank you.